So, hi everybody and welcome back. This is C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 106 and we started already with our exercise, with our new exercise where we will try to repeat all the keywords and especially functions to create. And what we are going to create is this one here, to create an account for a custom with password. And then we will try to crack this password. We are playing hacker. We are simulating like that we are trying to crack this password. And let's get started. First of all, with this line which says create an account for a customer with password. And if you are a beginner, you should perhaps create it from scratch, because this is also a good exercise to repeat all and to think all from scratch. But of course you can reuse your code which you already created. What I mean with that is we have already created an account. The bad point is we created an account with limited knowledge because we didn't know their functions and so. And still, it was an account which we can reuse, and exactly that I'm going to do in this exercise. I am reusing a code which was one of our exercise with bad coding because our knowledge was limited, but it works. So it was in my case this account. Let me just show you what I'm going to reuse. It is this one, and it says here login account username. We created this one in one exercise, and then I said, okay, here coder, and if the username is in the database, then I have to write also the right password. And the problem is I can write it only 3 times, because after 3 times this program stops, and that means we can't use brute force, right? Because brute force means you test this over 1 million times till you find it. And this program which I wrote was so made that it stops after 3 times. So we have to manipulate a little bit this code, which means we hack it. And in our case, we don't really hack it. We just change some variables but it's similar like a hack, right? But first of all, let's talk about this account fast as a repetition. And in your case, I hope you create this again from scratch, because like I said, this was one exercise where we had not the knowledge about functions, and this was not a really good example. But creating an account is fairly simple, but here of course I have here some more things, like let me show you this, what we had there again. That was this account with data information, right? We make here coder, and then I go for his password. I think it was this one. And then you can see we can have access now to his informations, data of coder. And in this exercise is we try to crack this password, so we see what information this coder has on his account, right? So of course you can make this also, but you don't have to, as your task is just to create an account, means not you have to provide data, but this is a little bit more realistic, right? So you hack an account to get access and see what is in the account. So that's it. Let's repeat this function. We will not repeat all, because we'll just repeat some function keywords and all this kind of stuff. So you'll see what I did there with limited knowledge, and that's not the best practice, but let's see if we can distinguish that and point out what is good, what is bad. So let's start with int main. Okay, I have only one function here, which is then we put all in int main because we had no knowledge about function, but that's still valid, that's still works. So on top we have declared variables. We can see that that was okay. On top I put many variables. So let's start here. String variable. Okay, we know std string variable array, and we initialized it directly with some values, right? And here we have this array without a number because we initialized it here directly. And the same goes here with a string array again with code which is our passwords actually. And this passwords we are going to change for this exercise, because this password, like I said, it's a little bit long for brute force. That will take much time, and we change it only for 2 characters, right? We can change this to characters, and we can make this even easier if we make numbers or only words, but we can decide this later. But let's make this only 2 characters, which means we find this password. Because, like I said, if this password is a little bit longer, and you can test it later when you finish this exercise, this will take more and more and more time till it finds the solution. The longer the longer you make this password. Okay, we have made our first change, but this was a normal change because this is a preset, so that the password is okay. And then we go on. You see we are creating here more arrays with string arrays, and here are my books and my games and my movies, games and books and something like that. All right, and then let's repeat here also some bool creation. Here we create a bool variable and we assign it with false, and here we create a whole of int variables, again a bool, and here we make a while counter for player input. So that's all the variables which I created there, which means I will use them there. So let's repeat this line. And you see what I did here? That's very interesting. We created here a while loop, which means this loop is a normal while loop, but it has special conditions here, and let's repeat them as well. You see we have here the variable. This one is not equal operator, right? So as long as this one is not equal to this one, which means at start it is false, which means it will be not equal, and this becomes true. And then we have this or operator, and then we have then this one here, and so this 2 will be evaluated, and then if this is true, and then we have this AND operator, which means this AND operator is only true when both right side and left side must be true. And for example, that must be true and that must be true. Then this operator will be true. And then we have here again just normal check equal operator, and then again an AND operator. And I hope you learned this one. This is just a little bit repetition of these operators. And to make it clear, I made here this round bracket, so we can see this one belongs together. This one belongs to this one. This one belongs to this one. This one belongs to this one. And they are anyway at the same level, which means it doesn't matter which one of this AND operator you evaluate later first, it will be okay. So that was a little bit about this repetition. I hope it is clear. If not, to watch this again or read this again in a book. Then here I have the standard questions for the input. So we display on screen, logging on screen. Here's our logging account and then username, so that the user knows what he has to type in. And then we save the username here, the password, what he is typing in. And important is here we learned something new, right? Say in this way is not good. We learned using, what was this other way? So what was the other way? The string line was better, right? So because the problem with the say in is if the user make a space, right? It is saving this next input behind the scene and putting it down in the next way. We have not really discussed about this. I said only it's a bad practice. Let me show what I mean with the bad practice here. When you write here, for example, coder, and make now a space, add this space, and then type in anything. Let's say here password 1 hier 5 6, and you will see that this one, when I enter it, it is anyhow behaves strange, right? So this coder, it's not really there. And the reason for that is we are using cin. We have not talked about this in detail, but we have found a solution for that. It was a string line, I think. I'm not sure myself. Let's see if I can change this. String line. But it was string line or was, I don't know. I have to watch myself. What was this comment again? You know what I mean, I hope. It was this input line. I watch it later, but let's continue this one here. And I hope you know what I mean. And then let's continue. And then what we have here, we repeat again a for loop. Okay, we know what a for loop is, right? A for loop is just to loop through an array, and we have here many arrays. So we can through an array with for loops, with while loops, and that should be clear. And a do while loop we learned also. That's nice. Here I'm using a for loop, and then I check the username, which we entered here, with the account name database, which means I check the entered name with the stored. This array simulates a database, which is just a database with names if the username is there, and then this array stores a database for the password, and then it compares later the password. So first it compares the username, if this username is present. If that's okay, then it goes on, and then username, and then we make here a setter for some later use of variables. It says here reset check variables for later tries. Okay, that's not so important, but this one, and then goes here to the next point where it says, okay, found username true, then you can check for the password, and then it goes through the database passwords, checks, makes a comparison. After the first username was okay, check now the password if this one is there. And let's see where I stopped here. And then this one, and let's see if this is true. Okay, if this is anyhow true, found username, and so L found username is true, then it goes in password is equal, yes, the password must be here true. So here we make a direct check. If this direct check is okay, it goes into categories, and let's see what happens if it's not okay. Then it goes here and says, yeah, wrong password, and then you can try again. And here it's already stopping, and then we increment here the counter. So I hope this is just a short repetition of that what we did in the exercise there. And this was not a very good code. Why it's not so very good? You see this level of depth here. So this white lines who goes down from top to down. That means this goes is nested. It's very high nested. You can nest 1, 2, 3, but if it's nesting too much, then it gets more and more complicated. And then we learned later functions can solve this problem that we have not to nest this one so hard. So you can see this whole thing here, I should normally rewrite with functions, because functions will solve this thing here, this nesting thing here, very easy, and make it very visible, easy to read, because this one is not so easy to read actually. But that was okay at this time because we had limited knowledge, but now we have more knowledge. We can rewrite this. I will not rewrite this. I still keep it because I said we have also to learn to understand bad codes as a coder, right? As a programmer, you must understand anything what comes in front of you. That's so the ultimate goal, because you can't say, hey, that is bad coded and that I'm not using it. That's not working as a programmer. You can't say that. You say, I take it and perhaps I make it better, perhaps I use it not, something like that. But you can't say only because it's bad it's not usable, because if you say that, then you have a work to make it new again. And sometimes it's just say, okay, it's bad. I see it is bad, but I just take it for this case. And in my case, I say, okay, for our case, it is bad. It was made as an exercise, but it still fulfills absolute requirements. And the requirement is here, create an account for a customer with password. Yes, it is bad code. It is perfect for this case. I can use it. So you can see I can write my thing coder, and then I have to find now this account and I can go in. So there is only one thing missing here, what we have to do, and that is make it possible to brute force. Brute force? I hope you check this word. Brute force means when I activate it again, I must be able to write coder and then this infinitively, more or less. So it should not stop. And now it's stopping. And now we simulate a hack. What a hacker would do is normally can find if he has the source code directly, the password here, but we are just changing here something. So I'm the hacker. I go now here and I manipulate this code so that I can brute force now this. And how so the question is where I have to manipulate this one. It's a very easy trick actually. We go to this while loop where this counter is with the free setups, and here I found the variable. So this variable here says int while counter for player input is 0, right? I have here max tries 3, and when I go to the reference, if you don't find where it is all the time, click find all reference, something like that, and then you can click here and it jumps to all the places where this is coming. Okay, here we increment it, here we set it, that's very interesting, and here is the start point. So we are interested in this point here. Here's the condition that it will stop, right? So after this while counter is reaching 3, also when it's reaching 3, this one will be stopping here, because then it says this one is exactly 3, and that is true becomes false, because these are not equal operator, which means it makes the opposite of the outcome of here, and that would be false, and a false combined with and operator will make the whole thing here to false. So our job is never let that be happen, right? So when it comes here 3 on top here, so if this becomes 3, this will stop. I say that should never be happen. Haha. As a hacker, one way is I manipulate just this number here. I find this in the code. I go to the, for example, to the in the background to the storage place where this code here, this number 3 is saved, because this is a hard-coded value anywhere. And if I find it and change it to -1, for example, then you see it is still a number. So I have not changed the size. I have just changed the number value here for -1, because it is an int, that's possible. And now this value will never reach, for example, -1, because this one is all time incrementing. We learned here the reference. This one will all time increment, right? And the start value was 0, right? And this will all time increment, so it will never be -1. And when it's never be -1, this condition will never become false, which means this while loop will run forever. So that's my little background hack, but we will use, of course, a real hack later with this brute force, which is this one here. And let me show what I mean. I change now this value here. And then when I go in, let's assume I change this in the background with binary code, not in C++, in binary code, like the hacker would do. And then I can go here, and now I can write coder. And then I can write here this infinitive times and test all the passwords which I throw in. And it will never stop. And that is exactly what a hacker would try. If you can't stop, I can test all. And now we can make a brute force attack, which means we can test infinitive inputs till we find the right input. And that is our brute force attack. And that is what we will do, try to implement in the next video, because this video was just to come to this point. That was the first part. And the next video we are trying to implement now this attack where we type in all passwords and test it and combine it till we found it. And here a reminder, here's this code what I have found on the net. Just here, fast repetition, control uncomment. That was this one. There was a solution in the web. This is not my code. I don't know if I'm even using that. I'm showing you how you can make this. So he made here some variables, and then he made here some in main he called a crack program where he ran a while loop. And the most important part here is this while loop has here a string generator, right? Let's call a string generator. So the string generator is something like that. Think about this one. Let's go here to the string generator. It takes a string and then it's at all time. For example, here this exactly at this point here. I talked about this one already in the start video. This plus here, right? This plus is not a plus. It is an overload operator, and it's a concatenation with strings. You have to check this string concatenation. So check this one here, string concatenation. I hope it's something like that. And this concatenation means you can do something like that. If you have here a string, for example, S, and with this plus here, you can add to this string, for example, another string. A, and then you get something like SA. And this is the way how you can later create different kind of words or passwords or something else and test all combinations and try your attack. So this one is this attack what they tried here, and that's a very good solution. I think you should go for this one because you see the code is very low. Actually here just one function here, then another function here, and then a call from here. So you see just more or less few functions and one recursive function, and that's it. And that's really good, a good solution. But of course this one is not finished. This is just generating these strings here what I showed you. Now after this one you have go in and test this input versus the input of this database. So you make a comparison function as well. So that's not the only that's not stopping there, right? That's so the thing. This one is short, but yeah, I hope it helps a little bit for you. Perhaps you find even a better solution. You can check the web, of course, like all time. And let's comment this one out here. And with that said, I will stop here, and I hope you made something better than me, because like I said, this code is bad, but it works. And we learned reusing code. And if you made this from scratch, even better, because then you repeated really all this kind of stuff here and made this all and trained again how to use them, how they are connected, how they are called. And this one, like I said, it's not the right way to do. We make this with functions even better. This is one way it is possible, but not the best way. So that's enough talk. With that said, I stop this video here. If you have any comments or any complaints, like all time, write it in the comments. And see you in the next video. And of course, I wish you good luck with these exercises, because these exercises are more important sometimes than just learning keywords. And bye.